32.
I'm going to tighten up the board.
That's fine. Oh, please do. Huh?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
If you want to scoot over toward the board, that would work.
Put everything on that side.
Hazianu.
Hazianu. Zenu. Hazianu. Hold on just a second. I've started to bring that overhead projector you gave me to show everybody.
What did you think? Did you try it? Did you work it?
I've used some. I've used it.
So have you got it operational? Is it
Yeah.
helping?
I've wanted to bring it to school, but the schools used to have them, and Laura's afraid if I walk in with it, they'll be like, "Oh, you got one of our things," you know.
Well, show up at the front door at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is mine. My name's on
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's see.
The reflection. There's no reflection from the board.
I'm just getting my mobile hotspot up so I can do what I need to do over here.
Is it three connectors, little connectors?
Yeah. All right. So, guys, there's no way I can teach this whole chapter, okay? But by tradition, by Jewish tradition, this is always read the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, okay? So, why? There's a reason why, because this is a very interesting chapter, okay? It's interesting because, here, go ahead and erase it. Right there. It's a very interesting chapter because it's a song. It's not, it's poetry. It's Hebrew poetry. Okay? If you see it in Hebrew, it's written in 2 columns.
On the Torah scroll?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It's written in 2 columns.
Oh, the 2 mountains. I never thought of that.
It's hazianu. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is a song. It's a song. It's not a poem. It's a song. But I want to show you something that's very interesting because there's a reason that it's a song. Okay? Let's go to chapter 31 first. If you're going to study Hebrew poetry, this is the chapter to study. There is so much in here, and I want to show you this thing right quick. Why is this a song? Why is this a song? There is a reason.
You say the whole Torah portion from beginning to the, because that's the way they memorize.
The tradition, the Hazal tradition is that. So in a sefer, a book, you will have cantilization marks. Okay, that's for the Hazal.
Hazianu.
Hassan, thank you. That's for them to be able to sing it. Okay? But the text itself, and here's the thing is, we think that it's just singing marks, but it preserves certain traditions of enunciation of words. So the capitalization marks are equally as important as the Hebrew marks. Okay? So you ask, how do we know? Because the Masoretes preserved they preserved it as well as possible. Okay? As the language was dying, that's why they came up with the vowel system. Okay? Jews were scattered throughout the earth, and they were losing the Hebrew language. So the what's the term?
Masorite?
The Masoretes. The Masoretic text is what preserved the enunciation. Here's something that's very interesting. In the first century, when Yeshua, or in the Second Temple era, where was he from? Okay?
Born in Bethlehem, right? But he moved in
What region was that?
Nazareth.
That's the city that he was from. What region was that?
The Galil?
Galilee, yes. Did you
Galilee.
know that Galileans were not permitted to pray in the temple?
Why?
Because of their Hebrew. They considered it a corrupt Hebrew.
Really?
So they would not allow a Galilean to lead prayer in temple services.
So therefore, when he's sitting there and opens the book in Matthew, that was...
No, he read it. They would allow them to read. They would not allow them to pray.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
very interesting. So even in his day, Hebrew was, I think, there was issues with it.
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier about
Yes.
how this community pronounces
Yes.
something, the other community pronounces something. Just let them be. You know?
Exactly. But you go back to Kings. In Kings, you'll see that that one of the walled cities, they had a password, and it was a Hebrew word that a certain group of Jews couldn't enunciate.
Kings or judges?
It's in Kings. It's in the book of Kings. And so they would throw that word out, and if the person couldn't enunciate it right, they knew that they wasn't from that area, so they wouldn't let them into the city.
In that case, it's then there's two different words in. So there's one in Judges or
Yeah.
so there's two instances of that specific, and the one I'm referring to has a shin versus a sin
Yeah.
pronunciation. Yeah.
So the point is you're frustrated with all the Hebrew. Hebrew's always been a frustration. Just know that. Okay? It's always been a frustration. Okay? Enjoy it. Just learn to enjoy it. And enjoy the richness of it. That's what it comes down to. Okay? So, anyway, let's get back to this. Zena. We're going to read this whole chapter right quick. I think we do it this justice by cherry picking it without reading the whole thing. So let's start, and don't be one of those people. Enunciate, please. We'd all like to hear you. Okay? So let's start here, 2 verses apiece, starting with our Hebrew teacher, Sonia. 2 verses apiece. Chapter 32, starting in verse 1. Yeah, we're back to 32.
Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32, right?
Deuteronomy 32. 2 verses apiece. Let's go around.
Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and may the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching drop like the rain. May my utterance flow like the dew, like storm winds upon vegetation, and like raindrops upon blades of grass.
I will proclaim the name of the Lord. Oh, praise the greatness of our God. He is the rock. His words are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he.
Corruption is not his, the blemish is his children's, a perverse and twisted generation. Is it to Hashem that you do this, O vile and unwise people? Is he not your father, your master? Has he not created you and affirmed you?
Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask the Father, and he will show you the elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, and he set the bounds of people according to the number of the children of Israel.
You skip the table.
What? When the Most High divided? You read that.
I know. You skip the
No,
table.
I didn't. I'm
Yes, you
doing
did.
it for her. No, I'm doing it for her.
Beth is reading.
Oh, you are reading? I thought she was working. Okay, sorry.
Go for it. I can't hear you.
Where did we stop?
You did 10 and 11, right? 9 and 10? So go 11 and 12, Beth.
As the eagle stirs up its nest, hovers over its young, he spreads his wings, catches him, lifts him up on his wings.
Adonai,
Two
alone.
verses. Wait.
Adonai alone guided him, there was no foreign God with him.
Stand by, Kevin.
Curse for the cattle and milk of the flock, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats, with the choicest of meat. And you drank wine, the blood of the grapes. But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, you grew thick, you are covered with fat, so he forsook Elohim, who made him, and scorned the rock of his deliverance.
Son?
They would provoke his jealousy with strangers. They would anger him with abominations. They would slaughter to demons without power. Gods whom they knew not, newcomers recently arrived, whom your ancestors did not dread.
You deserted the rock who fathered you. You forgot the God who gave you birth. The Lord saw this and rejected them because he was angered by his sons and daughters.
Can I make a small comment there on this verse?
No. Wait till we get started on the
Oh,
commentary.
no, it's real simple.
What?
It's just in Hebrew, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in Hebrew in this verse. In English, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's about 14, 15 words. So that's to give you an example of how concise Hebrew is versus how wordy English is.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And he will say, I shall hide my face from them, and see what their end would be. So they are a generation of reversals, children whose upbringing is not even. They provoked me with a non-God, angered me with their vanities, so shall I provoke them with a non-people. With a vile nation shall I hinder them.
For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and I shall burn
unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischief upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them.
They shall be burned with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also set the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without, and terror within, shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs.
I would have said, I will hack you to pieces, making only a loose except I dread
Louder, please.
the taunt of the enemy, lest their foes might misconstrue, lest they say, our hand is held high, and our lap has not
For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end.
How would one chase 1,000, and two put them thousand to flight, unless the rock had sold them, and Adonai had given them up? For the rock is not like the rock, even our enemies are judges.
32.
For their vineyard is from the vineyard of Sodom, and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, so clusters of bitterness were given them. Serpent's venom is their wine.
Have I not kept this in reserve and sealed it in my vaults? It is mine to avenge, I will repay. In due time their foot will slip. Their day of disaster is near, and their doom rushes upon them.
Sorry, I lost.
36.
When Hashem will have judged his people, he shall relent regarding his servants. When he sees that enemy power progresses, and none is saved or assisted, he will say, where is their God, the rock in whom they sought refuge?
Which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand.
40.
Any progress here? For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever.
If I wet my glittering sword, then mine hand take hold on judgment. I will render vengeance to mine enemies, and will reward them that hate me.
Back. 42.
I will make my arrows drunk from blood, and my sword will devour flesh, the blood of the slain and the captive head of the leaders. Make his people rejoice, O nations, for he will avenge the blood of the sinners. He will return vengeance on his foes and atone for the death.
Okay, let's stop there just for a minute before we go to the next verse. This is where the song ends. Now we go into narrative. Daniel.
And Moses came and spake all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he, and Hoshea the son of Nun. And Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel.
And when Moshe ended speaking all these words to all Israel, he said to them, set your heart on all the words with which I warned you today, so that you command your children to guard to do all the word of this Torah.
Psalm 47.
For it is not an empty thing for you, for it is your life, and through this matter shall you prolong your days on the land to which you crossed the Jordan to possess it.
48. 2 verses. 48.
Hashem spoke to Moses on that very day, saying,
Go up into the neighboring range to Mount Nebo in Moab, across from Jericho, and you can, and the land I am giving the Israelites as their own possession. There on the mountain that you have climbed, you will die and be gathered to your people, just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Horeb and was gathered to his people.
Because you trespassed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of strife of Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin, because you did not sanctify me among the children of Israel. What do you do?
Go ahead on 52.
For from a distance shall you see the land, but you shall not enter there into the land that I gave to the children of Israel.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff in this, but why is it written in a song? Let's back up to the previous chapter, chapter 31, and let's look at verse 19. Once you're there, let me know.
Yes.
Everybody there?
Yes.
Under there. There.
Yes,
There.
Yes.
Where the
Now write this song for yourselves and teach it to Bnei Israel. Put it in their mouths so that this song may be witness for me against Bnei Israel.
Hardcore, man.
God told Moses, teach this to them in a song form so that they will remember it. He did not.
That's hardcore, man.
Listen to what I'm about to say. Only in 4 places in Deuteronomy are the children of Israel told to learn something. Twice it is the Shema. The 3rd time it's this. So, the Torah that we should all learn and know by heart is the Shema and chapter 32.
Is 32 a part of the long Shema?
No.
I don't think so.
No. 32 is a summary of all of Devarim. When you lay this out according to, remember last year when I taught Deuteronomy, I told you that Deuteronomy is set up as a covenant. These last 2 chapters are outside that covenant. 32, 33. 32, 33 is outside the covenant. Notice chapter 32 does not mention the covenant.
You said we just read 19, right?
Yes, we read 31:19.
You should read 20 too, because 20.
Actually, it goes from 19 to 21. So let's read 20, 21 as well.
For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swore to their fathers, that flowed with milk and honey. In other words, he's going to give it to you anyway. Then you eat and get fat.
Yep.
And then you turn to other gods and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen us, that this song shall testify against us as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of our mouths. For I know our imaginations which they go about before I had brought them into the land which I had to ad lib a couple.
No, it's necessary because this
Exactly.
sets it up. If there are two pieces of scripture you should know from heart, it's the Shema and this chapter. God commanded it to be taught and learned.
Can't I go drown myself in some other illusion?
Huh?
Can I go drown myself in an illusion or a delusion?
That's what we've done.
Well, I know. I get it.
So, go ahead. You got a question? You got this
We're going from Shema
to this?
to 31:19 and then to 32?
No, just 32.
Just 32.
Just chapter 32. Because that's what he's telling Moses. He's like, this song. What song? The Song of Moses. These are the two pieces of scripture you should know above all other scripture. The Shema in chapter 32. Because it is a witness. The song is a witness.
Just the song, or also the.
That's what it says. Isn't that what it says, Daniel? This song is a witness
Yeah.
against the children of Israel. That's what it says. Chapter 32 is the first time God is referred to as Father. So, in our reading, did you pick up anything? What did you pick up of chapter 32?
May I back up a little bit before we try to answer your questions? We're talking about the Shema.
Yes, we can talk about the Shema.
Okay. So, we all know the Shema, and we stop at the words, inscribe them on the doorposts of your house, on your gates. Deuteronomy 6:9. Then, for those of you that don't know, it goes to Deuteronomy 11:13 through 21.
Yes.
Which is, I'm not going to read it, but I'm just giving you, let you know that there's more to the Shema.
Yes.
And then you go to Numbers 15:37 through 41. So again, if somebody says launch Shema, that's what they're talking about. And we all need to understand that. That's really the way it is. And this abbreviated version that we say is not all of it. Okay, sorry.
Now, what were you going to say, Kappa?
Well, it repeats. I guess the message repeats because I've seen this. But I read this on other chapters. Like, if you follow me, you will be blessed. If you don't, I'm going to bring this against you. But what's different compared to this?
So,
What's so different?
So this is a summation of all of Deuteronomy. So when you write a contract, you sign it, right?
Okay.
And what do you do on a contract, on a literal contract, for it to be valid? You agree to it, but if it's a legal binding document, how do you seal it?
Signature.
Signature and a notary. They'll seal it.
Okay.
This is the seal of Deuteronomy.
Oh, okay.
Because he's saying this is the witness. When you sign a legal document, what do you have to have valid? If there's two parties signing it, you have to have a third party who is a witness. This is a witness.
There's something else in this parsha, that heaven and earth, a permanent witness that will never go away, will also be a witness against us.
In this case, it's not a witness. It does not call heaven and earth to witness. Look at
To
what it says.
testify.
To testify.
So it's a witness.
No.
Witnesses testify.
Look what it says.
Go
Verse
ahead.
1. Give ear, O heavens and earth, O heavens, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. That's it. It doesn't say that they are witnesses. What he's doing here is he's calling all of creation to attention. Now, here's what you've got to understand. If you see this in Hebrew, it's divided in two columns. Okay? It follows a 3-3-3-4 pattern. It'll be 3 words in this column, 3 words in this column. And it goes down 3 words, 3 words, 3 words, 3 words, 3 words, and then it'll break and say 3, 4. And then it'll go 3 words, 3 words, 3 words, 3 words, then it'll go 4, 3. So there is a rhythm to the text. It's a 3, 3, 3, 4 rhythm. Completely lost in any translation. Now, when we write songs, we write them rhythmically with words. That's not how biblical Hebrew poetry works. It rhymes with thoughts, not words. Let me give you an example. Look at the first verse. Give ear, O heavens and earth, and I will speak. Right? Let the earth hear. Right?
Yes.
That's what it says, correct? In the Hebrew text, the way this is broken up is on the first column, it's 3 words. Hazianu, hashamayim, ha'edeber. I probably said that all wrong. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. That's the first portion of the verse. Across from it, let the earth hear the words of my mouth. So the first column deals with heaven. The second column deals with earth.
Aleph. On earth as it is in heaven.
Okay? Now, look at verse 2. It says, my teaching shall drop as rain. Where does rain come from?
Heaven.
My speech will distill as dew. Where does dew come from? Earth. Verse, and then it goes on. As the small rain upon the tender grass, that's in the first column, and the second column, and as the showers upon the herb.
Rabbi David Kaplan put something out on rain and dew yesterday out of Or Samaya in Jerusalem. Now I know why you brought it up.
For I will proclaim the name of the Lord is in the first column. The second column,
Ascribe greatness to our Elohim.
yes. I will ascribe ye greatness unto your God. So, you got, he is saying that he will say the name of God, and by doing so, he brings greatness to his name. That's what's being said. This is just the introduction to this chapter. Because it begins with God not calling heaven and earth to witness, but to see. There are other places that he calls them to witness. But in this case, the song is the witness, not the heavens and the earth. From here,
What's the verse that talks about what you're saying? The heaven and earth? I don't know. If you have it, I want to just see it in Hebrew.
there are several. You mean here in
Is
this
it
one?
in 31 and 32? Where is it at?
This one?
Yeah.
It's the first two. It's the first verse of 32.
Of 31?
Yeah, 32. 32.
Stand by.
Hazianu. Now notice this, Daniel. Check this out. Okay, read it in Hebrew, verse 1. You read it. Don't do the recording. You read it.
Hazainu hashamayim ve'adbara.
Okay, stop. That's the first one. Notice it says Hazianu, right? What does Hazianu mean?
That's ear.
It's a ear, but it actually literally means listen. Okay? Almost every English version translated as give ear, but technically speaking, in a grammatical sense, it means listen. Okay?
Well,
look at the next word.
Well,
Wait.
yeah.
Get to the next word.
Betashma.
Veta.
Shma. Okay, I was about to say that.
Say that?
The combination or the contrast between Shema and hazianu.
And that's exactly what this verse is bringing to life.
Good point. Okay, I like that. So we do know that ozen also means balance.
Yes.
Ear. What does the ear do? It doesn't just listen. It is the root and seat of our balance. Did you know that? Did I share that? But how I shared that to you from the Hebrew.
Oh, no.
From the Hebrew. From the Hebrew. It has more to do with balance than it has to do with listening. For what it's worth. That's cool.
So you have two verbal commands here. One to listen and one to hear. Okay? This is biblical poetry. It's called parallelism, meaning that what's in the first part is in the second part. But here's the thing, is that it can say exactly the same thing a different way. We done?
Oh, let me finish. I'll share it with the whole group then. Ozen, hazianu, ounce.
Okay.
That's where we got the word ounce from. Scales from.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Biblical Hebrew poetry will either say the same thing a different way, or it will say something that is contrary. In this case, it's saying the same thing a different way. Listen and hear. Also in biblical Hebrew, I just figured this out today, learning doesn't mean head knowledge. It means action.
Oh, I'd agree. 100%.
It means action. To learn something means action. There is no Hebrew word for obey. Everybody always talks about obeying God. The
100%.
Hebrew scriptures never say obey God.
There's no word that says commandment either.
Nope.
Doesn't exist in the Hebrew.
Nope. We're never told to obey God.
And he never commands us.
Nope. He teaches us.
He speaks to us.
That's it.
So where it says, you said he never commands us?
He doesn't, there's no such thing as the
So
Ten
where it says
Commandments.
the Bible commands is a bad translation.
Yes.
Yes, it's a purposeful translation
Yes.
to try to show that the old or the Tanakh is law
Yep.
when it's not.
When the Tanakh is
Teaching or instruction.
Exactly.
So the
Remember,
obey
God is a
the obey
father.
comes voluntarily.
He is not he is a judge,
Yes.
but he prefers to identify himself as a father that teaches you. I cannot relate to that concept. Sorry.
Actually, he's called king and father because it shows his two roles. As a king, he judges you. As a father, he teaches you and trains you.
Yeah.
That's why you want to appeal to him as father and not king. Because when you call king, you're calling judgment. And in this portion, in this reading, he refers to the nation of Israel as his children.
More personal.
It is the relationship. This song is about God and Israel's relationship. It's the first place he's called Father.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Chapter 32.
Why does he wait to the very end?
Because in this one, he as a father, he's a disciplinarian.
let me just caveat that. It always talks about children of Israel. It never talks about the adults of Israel. For what it's worth.
Okay?
Okay?
You understand where I'm coming from on this?
I'm hearing your words. I'm not sure I understand. That I will say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Was this all happening at Mount Sinai?
No,
No.
this has happened across from Jordan. Where, the last verse, where does it say that Moses is? Where does it say they are?
You will see the land, but you will not enter it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's something.
This is a Dar 7 too, right?
Yeah. Okay? So, this is Moses' last word to the children. This word, this song is not only a song, but it's prophetic. And you will see both Isaiah and Jeremiah pick up and use these exact terms and use this very song in their prophecies. Jeremiah is the one that calls heaven and earth to witness. And he's basing it off of this.
I've got a struggle here now. If this is a Dar 7, which is the 12th month, right? And it's in the spring, why are we reading it here in the fall?
Tradition.
Transition.
Oh God, that's the wrong answer. I mean, you know, I got a real, that's a legit question.
That's a legit answer.
Okay, well, it's, yeah,
That's a legit answer.
But the text fits the days of awe. It totally fits the days of awe. I'm just trying to sit there and see what the, again, and look at it. The 7th, I can live with the 7 because we're in the day 1 through 10 between Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But the month. Now, it's almost like a complete reversal like it was in the original calendar, but it's a month off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I'm not quite sure how to juggle that.
Okay, now, what were you going to, what's going on? You got a question?
Yeah, you do. You just don't know how to word it yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
How do I bring it up?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
How do I follow up to my question?
this is a witness against them because what? Now, he sits here in verse 3 and says that he will proclaim the name of God. Now, you know what I learned this week? Yahweh is a pagan god.
I run into that.
The name Yahweh is pagan.
The Egyptian thing?
Nope, it's not Egyptian. Comes from the Canaanites.
So Yehovah is more accurate?
The worship of Jupiter is
So is Yehovah more accurate?
Yehovah is the name.
It is.
Yehovah is the name. So everybody that's saying Yahweh is actually using a pagan god's name on Yehovah.
Wow.
Just like Adonai.
Yeah, tell Paul Wilbur.
It's like Hashem. Hashem's a pagan god name too.
Oh, really?
Yes. Talk about that later.
So Yehovah.
Yehovah.
That's
Yahweh
the question.
or Wiccan.
Yehovah.
Corner.
Yehovah, yeah.
Scotty?
And bring that up and say that you're gonna go ahead and.
Yes, I can. I just did.
No.
Yes.
You brought it up. You have to go ahead and finish.
And guess what?
Right.
go study. My job is to give you nuggets for you to study, not teach you everything.
Hey, I get it.
It's not my job to teach you everything. It's to give you nuggets to cause you to search.
We're horrible, aren't we?
Number 4.
That's why we.
What?
Could you at least tell us what the meaning of Hashem came from?
We are told that Hashem means the name, but Hashem is the name of a false god.
From what region?
I'd have to go and look.
Well then,
Ooh, nothing. Come on. Verse 4. The rock blameless is his work. Indeed, all his ways are just. You see that? Don't get all pouty with me. Don't get pouty.
It's gonna put you in the corner right now.
Oh,
Stop behaving like a child. Stop behaving like a child and just listen. Number 4.
Hazianu or Shema?
The rock, his work is perfect. First column. For all his ways are
Right ruling.
right ruling. Mishpat. 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 Mishpat.
Mishpat.
Mishpat. Okay?
Alright.
Now, Daniel, you'll like the next part.
Which verse are we on?
Verse 4.
Of 32?
Mm-hmm.
Let me get over there. What about it?
Read it.
In Hebrew or?
Yes.
Hazur Timim. Okay. Palu Ki.
Okay, Palu, that's the first column. Now you're going to the second column. Ki,
Ki Kol Derehim Mishpat.
that's the second part. Now it goes back to the first column.
Emunah Ayin.
What comes before Emunah?
El Emunah.
El Emunah. El Emunah. Who is that? The God of
God of truth.
truth. Emunah. What do we translate?
Well, hold on. If that was a God of truth, it should say El Ha'emet.
No, it doesn't.
But it doesn't say El Ha'emet.
Because it's biblical poetry.
So therefore, it's actually saying a God of faith, not a God of truth.
Exactly.
The Hebrew is saying a God of
Of
faith.
faith. Now, stop. What is biblical faith?
Doing. Sure it is.
No, it's not.
Knowing. Okay, let's go down that road.
We totally misunderstand what faith is.
All right, where are you going with this, Scotty?
Anybody else got a different translation? It doesn't say truth.
what
Verse 4. Yours says truth?
No.
What does it say?
The rock perfect is his word, for all his paths are justice. The God of faith.
Faith? It says faith. Anybody else got anything else? Faithful. Biblical faith is faithfulness. It's not some concept of you trusting God for something to come to pass. That is the Greek understanding of faith. True biblical faith is to remain faithful.
So this is saying that God stays faithful to us,
Yes.
not that we are faithful to Him.
No, because it's going to counter it. It's going to counter it. Right now, verse 4 is setting up who God is. Verse 5 sets up who the children are. Finish reading.
Hebrew or English?
Hebrew.
Ve'ein, Avel, Sadiq,
Zadik. What's Zadik?
righteous.
Yes. Just and righteous. So we have faithfulness and righteousness. This is who God is. Faithful and righteous. Okay, go ahead.
Vayisharhu.
Okay. Now, verse 5. Who wants to read verse 5?
I see where you're going with this. This is pretty interesting.
Verse 5. A twisted and crooked generation has corrupted itself.
Okay, stop.
That's first column again?
That's first column.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Hold on. Is corrupt. The way my translation reads it is corruption his? No, his children is the blemish. That's the first column.
Okay.
Second column, a generation crooked and perverse. So, his faithfulness, his children is blemished. He is righteous. His children.
And you would never see that in English or
No.
even in a Hebrew text. Wow.
His children, crooked and perverse.
So we cannot remain faithful because we
No, this is God saying who He is and who His children is.
They are not his children.
Oh, man.
The next. Wow.
Yeah.
We don't have time for the whole thing.
We're leaving already?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying, I'm not teaching all 40-something verses here.
Okay.
I just got my food.
Okay,
But the next phrase.
verse 6. So verse 5?
Yeah.
So is corrupt his? No, his children is blemished. That's column 1. Column 2, and in Hebrew, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. 5 words. And then it switches to 4 words, which is a generation crooked and perverse. It's a 5-4 rhythm. Yes. We're not done, because we're about to get into some very interesting stuff. We haven't even got to the good stuff.
But on verse 5,
We're on verse 5, yes.
the second phrase it says not, they are not his children. What's up with that?
Yes. So this is a Hebrew problem in Hebrew.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay? A generation crooked and perverse.
So,
Okay? We'll come around to it. I'll answer your question, I promise. Okay? Who wants to read 6?
6.
Is it to Hashem that you do this, or vile and unwise?
Okay, stop. Back up to the beginning of the verse and I'll tell you when to stop.
Is it to Hashem that you
Stop. Do you this required with the Lord? First column. Jumps to the second column, and what does it say?
O vile and unwise people? Is he not your father, your
Stop. First column is, do you hold this to Hashem, or to the Lord? And then he said, oh, foolish people and unwise. He's calling his children unwise because they're holding their faults against him. Tell me we don't do that. Look, continue.
Has he not created you and formed you?
Okay, start back at the beginning.
Is it to Hashem that you
Stop. That's the first column. Go ahead.
O vile and unwise people?
Second column. Now we're going back to the first column.
Is he not your father, your master?
Stop. Is he not that father? First column. Second column. Continue. Hath he not made?
Has he not created you and formed you?
So, he's sitting here telling the children of Israel, as a father, have I not created you?
Sounds like Job.
Yes.
Kepha has got this that shows both. I think everybody should at least see it instead of just talking about it.
Oh, I'm going to show it to them. I'm going to show it.
Okay.
So what is he saying? He's saying, you fought your father. You're perverse and unwise. And he's saying, did he not birth you? Did he not create you? Okay? See that? Okay, you see it? Let's look at verse 7.
I will too.
I was actually laying this out to give it to you guys, and it just got to be too much. So I couldn't finish it for you. I'm sure you would.
I'll pass it around the room if you want me to.
You know what? While I'm going to the 7th verse, go ahead and show them the division. If you've got it written there, go ahead and show them how it's divided up.
I'll do it, Kev, if you don't mind. I'll get it up close and personal to everybody. You seen that? Probably. I do not remember it like that. It may very well be, but I need to sit here and obviously crack the book again. Because this gets my attention. You do have it like that? That's cool.
You see it? You see what I'm saying? You see how one follows under the heaven side, which is God, and one is earth, which is man? Amazing. And you would never, it's untranslatable.
Which one's untranslatable?
Because it's in columns, and the header is heaven and earth. The right column is all heavenly. The left column is all earth.
No, they just don't put the effort into it.
You see?
Yeah.
They could. They could get creative.
Yeah, they could.
They do it with Esther.
Yeah.
So
Now, what you'll see in English translations is commas. They'll comma it, and then they'll indent it. So when you're reading it, you know that there's something different, but it doesn't explain it.
Yeah.
NIV is really good at it. It's like you're reading along the text, and now all of a sudden chapter 32 is just formatted different from all other chapters. But there's no note telling you why.
just like Psalm 119, there's
Yeah.
no note telling you these are the Hebrew letters. Learn it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Oh man. Oh, just. I didn't realize it was that deep.
I'm just scratching the surface.
I know you are.
Okay? Now, notice it calls him the rock. Daniel, look at that.
Sur.
But does it say ha-sur?
I don't know. I will verify. Verse.
That is verse what, 4? Is that 4, guys?
Hasur.
Ha-sur. The rock.
But it's not et ha-zur either.
No.
Just ha-zur.
Ha-zur. The rock. It's very interesting because as we progress, as you study this, he begins to talk about their idols and what are idols made out of.
Rock or wood.
Rocks, yes.
Or wood.
Or wood. But in this case, it's talking about rocks. So it is a comparison between the rock and rocks.
So check this out, just for what it's worth.
Hey, hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay? But in this case, Hazur also means mountain.
Yeah.
Hard means mountain.
In this case, rock has a connotation because it is poetry, mountain. And later, he talks about the judgments of the mountains.
Wasn't he also called El Hatsu, the god of North?
But he's using these pictures of rocks and mountains of who he is.
Know where I'm going with that?
I don't know where you're going, but I see what you got.
What do I got?
You got the Ayin Vav. I mean the Scottie Resh.
You know what the Saudi Resh is, right?
That's
Sorry?
Which is, no, it's not sword. This is,
Hatzur.
this is tire. It's translated as tire. So this is always a negative. You had it on the board earlier where you had the resh, you had the resh dalet, which is always a downer. It's always a negative in Hebrew, always a negative.
And this, go ahead.
Here with the vav, you have, I'll say, Yeshua. Breaking the rock, breaking the Mitzrayim, breaking the curse.
But also in here, what you'll find is that it's full of lo.
Full of what?
Lo. Lo.
No.
Lo is always negative. Lo in Hebrew. Lo. Lo is always negative.
Low.
That's low.
Low as in no. Just
That's
no. Low Mashiach, not the Messiah. It's not an antichrist.
Okay?
So,
So, what you have here, now, at the bottom, there's a verse that talks about his rock gave them up. Did not that rock give them up, etc., etc. In English, they try. We finished? Okay. In the Hebrew, it's not. In English, they try to translate it, and they capitalize one R and lowercase the other R. Okay? But in Hebrew, it's unclear which rock is being talked about. Which rock gave them up? Did not their rock turn against them? But they're worshiping idols. So was it the rock idols that gave them up? Or was it the rock that gave them up?
So is it in both columns? Really?
It's a play.
Wow. Hence the poetry. Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, see, without me not having the column in front of me, I wouldn't be able to sit there and extrapolate something. There's no way.
Yeah.
I need to have that text in front of me and I'd be able to start
You'd be able to
jumping.
start looking
Yeah,
at it.
I can see it a lot better.
There's all kinds of stuff in here just like that.
Well, this is as deep as Esther 9. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. Because this becomes the foundation of all prophecies that come against Israel. Because why was Israel exiled? This tells you why. They worshiped false idols.
And this is called the Song of Moses also? I thought
It's called the Song of Moses.
But isn't there another one somewhere like in Deuteronomy 15?
That one is called the Song of the Sea. When he comes out in the Exodus, when he comes out.
Deuteronomy. Isn't there another Song of Moses in Deuteronomy?
Yes, there
I know
is.
the Song of the Sea in Exodus 15.
Yes.
And I showed you that the other day on the Torah.
But this is called the Song of Moses. 2. Yes.
Also.
Also.
Okay,
Yes.
so there are 2 in Devarim.
Yes.
Okay.
But this becomes the foundation of all future prophecies. And here's the thing, this is poetry and nothing has happened. They haven't gone into the promised land, but it's all spoken as if it's already happened.
yeah. Okay.
It's
But
all present tense.
Well, but it did happen because they got stupid in Egypt. They got stupid in the wilderness. The golden
Yeah, but
calf
this is
event.
specifically in the land. It talks about a nation. Here's the thing that's so crazy. At the end, it talks about a nation that will rise up that's not a nation that will defeat Israel.
Palestinians that will defeat Israel. No, well, nobody's defeated Israel.
That will defeat Israel. They'll almost wipe them out, and then God will step in, not because they're his children, but for his name's sake.
Are you referring to Nazi Germany?
I don't think so. I don't think it's happened yet. I think it's prophetic and it's
Like you said, they almost did it.
yes.
Israel did not exist at that time. The people did.
Yes. Now here's the thing that I haven't even gotten to the crazy thing yet.
Get to it.
I haven't even gotten to the crazy thing.
All right.
Okay?
Now, in verse 5 and 6, he says, crooked generation.
Yes. Cricket.
And it says,
Oh, there's something interesting. You'll love this. Verse 6, the hay enlarged.
yeah, that, I was asking. It's right here. I saw that.
Enlarged hay.
Let's see what you got there.
It's an enlarged hay.
Yes, it is.
Caught my attention.
It's supposed to.
Why?
Because it's enlarged, and for one, it's already in columns, so you already broke away from the paragraph form of the Torah. So that alone, this is huge. This is bigger. Oh my God, I can't believe I have this. I didn't know this one with my heart. I thought I should. Oh my God, I gotta do this again.
So,
This is spooky.
so on verse 5, where he says, a twisted, crooked generation, he's already talking to not only that generation, but the ones in the future as well.
See, that's the thing, is this is poetry, and the way prophetic poetry is, it speaks to both tenses. It speaks present and future, because it's poetry. And almost all prophecy is poetry. That's why it's hard to understand. You've got to understand biblical poetry to be able to understand prophecy. And guess what is the least studied topic of all biblical Hebrew?
Poetry. I've heard the words 1,000 times. Do I think about it? No. But if I see Hebrew text like that, I know there's something.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and there's a large hay. I will have to play with that.
Okay.
Darn it. Maybe give me more homework.
Are you gonna say something about remember the days of old?
Yeah, I can say a lot about the old days.
About
I remember when I grew up. No, I'm joking.
Say a lot about what?
The old days. He said, are you going to say anything about the days of old?
Days of old.
Okay.
Well, when Moses and I were sitting there slaughtering dinosaurs.
So, yeah. Well, we threw it up on the altar and then had a conversation.
No, we grilled them. We just grilled them.
Okay? All right. Get this. We're going to skip a little bit. We're going to skip the remember the days of old. Okay? We're going to skip that. Verse 8. Who wants to read verse 8?
When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the
Stop.
boundaries.
When did he separate the sons of Adam?
The Nephilim? Or are we talking about Cain and Abel?
At the once we crossed, we give the. Oh wait. David. Does it have to do with David?
Try Babel.
Okay.
Babylon.
Look, when the Most High gave nations their homes, and he set the divisions of men, he fixed the boundaries of the people in relation to Israel's numbers. How many went down into Egypt?
70.
How many nations?
70. Bingo. That makes sense. What does Babel mean?
Confusion, doesn't it?
Yes. What's it? If you spell it backwards, what do you get?
Look that.
Does it mean?
Well, Babel is a backward spelling, for what it's worth.
Does it mean confusion or
No,
God of
well,
confusion?
But it's a Babel is a backward spelling of Levav or heart. So if you're in Babel, it's because your heart's backwards or confused and twisted.
Okay? So, remember when we were in Numbers and the children of Israel are going through and he tells them, hey, don't attack them. I gave them this land. Remember that? This ties to that. Every nation who was given land, their borders were given to them from God. And how he numbered them? by the children of Israel. But wait a minute. Israel wasn't a nation. Abraham wasn't even alive yet. Crazy, isn't it?
Okay. So, okay.
Now-
when you say God gave the nations their inheritance, okay.
Based off the number of the children of Israel.
Based off the number. So he sat there, again, he did Babel ahead of the 70 descendants of Israel.
And
As a
ultimately,
picture.
who's going
So, you know what's-
ultimately who's going to teach the nations?
Israel's going to teach the nations.
And
So, again, it's like I set them ahead of you to prepare for you. So that makes sense. I gotta play with that one. That's interesting.
So I am.
go ahead.
Yeah, there's an I here, definitely.
Yes.
There's a lot of
I am
I.
understanding that the Lord is telling the nations before Israel exists.
Yes.
I'm gonna divide you. This is your inheritance, but there will be Israel.
No, he didn't speak to them. He just did it.
That's
He did it, and now he's revealing to Moses, hey, the reason that there are 70 nations is because there were 70 children. Imagine this revelation. It's never been said anywhere else. It's only said here.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy cool. I mean, that's the setup. In other words, here we are, we're all stressed and worried about different things. And it's like, and I know I've heard it said, and I'm going to try to say it right, that we will inherit the wealth of everybody else, that they are preparing for us. So, that's kind of like Baal Safon. So we just got to kind of wait for Baal Safon or go up there and grab it at whatever point in time.
But see, this speaks large about who God
It's
is,
huge.
his
It's
knowledge.
huge.
Because there was no nation of Israel. There was no Abraham.
It's huge.
But it's in the song.
That's-
So God already knew it was gonna happen.
That shows his foreknowledge. So like, there's only going to be 70 nations because there's 70 children, and because there's 70 children, the nations can be won back. Through whom? Through Israel. Where is it the gospel, the word will be preached?
Throughout the nations.
come out
Where will it proceed from?
from Zion.
From Zion.
Right. From the desert. Zion also means desert.
And where, in this verse, it says, where did he find them? In the desert. That's what it says, right here. It says, where did I find you? Right here. Hold on. Verse 9. For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob his own allotment. So at the Tower of Babel, when the nations were separated, he chose a nation that wasn't yet a nation.
Yeah, because if they would have been a nation, they would have been split up too.
Exactly. The next verse, verse 10. He found them in the desert region. Daniel,
Yes.
verse 10. He found them in the desert region.
You want me to read it in Hebrew?
Sure.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Okay.
A
Yimsahu ba'eretz midbar.
He found them in the desert. Now, that's the first column. Second column,
Ubahu yilel yishman
in an empty, howling waste.
yisbagnihu.
The next column, he girded him, watched over him.
Oh, this is interesting because those two words are
Uh-huh.
no, they're not. they have double beds, but not, and the other one has double noons. So I'm not sure. I guess that must be howling wilderness. Yitzranehu Keishon.
Now, what this shows is his protection. Even in the wilderness, he's protecting.
That should be comforting.
Remember, it's poetry, so it's going to break all traditional rules.
This is good, Scottie. You're doing really good today. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, in verse 12, what does it say? Well, let's look at 11. It says, like an eagle who rouses his nestlings, or her nestlings, guiding down to the young. So he did spread his wings and take him, bear him among his pinions. This is what Beth was reading. He's talking about how eagles protect their younglings, is how God protected Israel in the wilderness. But look at the next verse. Verse 10. Then the Lord alone did guide him. No, what? No what?
Verse 10, is it?
No strange God with them.
No strange God among them. No, notice what he says. No strange God or gods at his side.
Yeah, mine says, so the Lord alone did lead him. The second column, and there was no strange God with him.
With who? Him. Who's him?
Well, I don't know.
The Lord.
Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh.
Yes. So we're seeing here the establishment that there's only one
Yeah, right?
God.
That's the Shema.
He's saying that there's no God beside him.
Yeah, there's no Trinity.
So this idea that there being a multiplicity of gods or a trinity, he's saying there's none beside me. None. It took the church a century and a half to get the doctrine of the Trinity to be accepted.
When did that start? Let's try to start.
Second century. It started the middle of the
So
second
it started
century.
right off the top, right up front.
Middle second century, and it was like the beginning of the fourth century before it was really established and grabbed a hold of.
Really?
So before that, there was no doctrine of the Trinity.
What made you study that? Or
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Yes?
When did that? This time? This is new to you?
Yeah.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, I went down all kinds of rabbit trails studying
I believe you. I know you do. I know you studies. I mean, yeah.
it. Okay?
Well, I like verse 13. It talks about fracking.
Actually, it's not.
Oh, really? Oil out of the flinty rock is not fracking? Why?
Because there's no oil in Israel. So what is the oil? There is oil that comes from rocks in Israel.
Shemen, what, olive?
Yes.
How does it come from a rock? You talk about the seed?
Well, actually, what I've been told is that it's not olive oil, but it's related to honey, and the bees will build nests, and so the rocks will look like they're breeding honey.
Well, that's the first verse.
Yes,
And then what about the second, the last verse? Or the last?
that's the honey from the crag and the oil from the flinty rock.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Because how is olive oil pressed?
between rocks. Oh, I can see that.
Because based off of this verse, they looked for oil in Israel and found none.
See, I don't know what Makaladesh means.
Okay.
But it does say friend, Halam,
Now what we see here is him beginning to talk about all that he's given to him, the honey from the rocks. This is interesting because there's a play on word. Who's the rock?
Sur. Yeshua.
And what does he give them?
Honey.
Honey from the rock, oil from the
And
rock.
oil.
It's all word plays in this. Okay? Guys, we've been going for over an hour and a half. We'll need a break.
You know what's interesting, just for what it's worth, on that Devash Masulah.
What verse are you talking about?
Well, it's not. Again, the word sur is only used once in this verse. It's not used twice in this verse. So that's asking me to sit there and ponder again, because it's not. I don't know that rock is the right word.
Let me read you what this commentary says. It says, he fed them honey from the crag and oil from the flinty rock. Fed is literally suckled, implying that God fed Israel with virtually no effort on his part. Even places that one would expect to be barren yielded abundant fruit stuff, honeycombs, found in the land countless caves and festues, and oil-producing olive trees that flourish in a rocky limestone soils.
Well, the word Shaddai is definitely in here, so therefore effortless. The Shaddai is a many-breasted one, basically.
Yes.
So I get that.
Shaddai,
Go for it.
I've already thrown so much out there, y'all. There's some Shaddai stuff going on in here.
Yeah, it's no doubt. It's there in the Hebrew.
18. You neglected the rock that begot you, forgot the God who brought you forth. The Lord saw and was vexed. 19. And he spurned his sons and daughters. So, guess what he's going to do? Measure for measure. You worshipped gods that were not gods. Therefore, I'm going to bring forth a nation that is not a nation. And you're going to become jealous of them.
Palestinians?
Don't know. That's the prophecy portion of this. What's that nation? That's not a nation. Now, of course, the Christian church will look at it and say it's the church, but we know that that's not the case.
You're in verse 18, right?
Yes. I kind of jumped ahead.
No, that's okay.
But look at verse 20. Because the Lord saw and was vexed, and he spurned his sons and daughters, he said, I will hide my countenance from them and see how they fare in the end. All right. Are you ready? He said he hid his countenance, right? So what does that mean? That they can't see, right?
Yes.
When Yeshua stood before Pilate, and Pilate asked him, was he the king? He said, for this cause have I come, to make the blind see. What?
That's hardcore.
What? He never, ever said, I came to die for the sins of the world. Yeshua never said that. He said, I have come to be ransomed for the lost. Previous to that, He said, I've not come for the nations. I've come to the lost house of Israel. Tie that together. He said, I've come to set free the captive. I've come to cause the blind to see and to heal the bruises of the wounded.
Now that's where he's quoting Isaiah, right? Yeah.
That's when he's reading from the Torah scroll that
Right.
you were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Right.
That's over in
And that's
over in Matthew.
And that's on the 3-year cycle, not the
2-year
not
cycle.
the yearly cycle that
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when he stood before, let's look at it. Let me show you.
Salute.
It's over in Luke. He's standing before Pilate. He said, for this cause came I into the world. Somebody finds it, let me know. It's over in Luke. Anybody found it?
No, sir.
There's a Luke 23 conversation.
What does it say? Pilate is talking to him, and he said, for this cause I came into the world. That's the phrase that he uses.
Let me look. Let me Google.
Every time I put that in, the Hillsong song is coming up.
Oh God.
Well, 23:3 it says, and Pilate asked him, saying,
Yes.
Are you the sovereign of the Yehudi?
Yes.
And answering him, he said, you say it. And Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowd, I find no guilt on this man, but they were insisting, saying, he stirs up the people, teaching through all Judea, beginning from Galilee unto this place. And
That's
when-
Matthew, though, right?
Luke 23.
Gosh, I was just looking at it this morning. Anyway, when you read this, God is saying that He will leave them battered. He will leave them battered and almost destroyed. That's what this prophecy says. But it won't be for Israel's sake that He'll save them. It'll be for His name's sake, for His own sake. And it was just like what Moses did when Moses brought him out of Egypt. God told Moses, let me kill them all, and I'll raise up a nation unto you.
With
Moses said,
from your
wait.
seed. Yeah.
The Egyptians will say, you brought them out here and destroyed them. And the text actually says that he will turn it, stop that nation from destroying Israel, and then He will recompense a consequence on that nation and destroy that nation. This ties to Isaiah, where Isaiah declares God as a man of war and his vestige being covered red. Guess what that red is? It's the blood of the nation that tried to destroy Israel in the end days. And here it ties it to the end days. So, was it wrong?
Well,
It ties it to the end days.
but here's the thought. If we're going to go into one world government and Israel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. It's going to be all the nations that became one nation against Israel, because we know that's how it's going to end. So that would make sense.
I mean, there's a lot of theory that you could play with here. The thing is, and that you bring up an interesting point, it says a nation that's not a nation, but they will be unified.
So that's kind of where we're headed now. One world, the New World Order, etc. And Israel's going to be the only oddball in the whole dang mess. So that'd be a perfect reason to sit there and let's just wipe them out once and for all. Hence, all the money that's going to Iraq right now is not going to feed the people. It's going to be preparing to destroy Israel. That's what that money is going out.
And that's what they've always
And
done.
that's why the money is going to Ukraine. It's all being set up to destroy Israel.
Good idea.
A very realistic idea.
The only problem is that God promised that Ishmael would be redeemed.
So let them get redeemed. You know, I mean, it's not like Saudi isn't kind of hooking up with Israel at this point.
Yeah.
So, okay, they are kind of brothers. You know, there's a family feud, so they just might be there in Armageddon.
Yeah. Did I tell you about when I visited a guy? So he was, his name's Ben. Ben was a part of the George W. Bush Foundation, which went over to Israel, right? And he met the Palestinian Prime Minister. And you know what the Prime Minister said to them? Because they were all representatives of the United States.
Tell me.
He told them point blank to their face, I wish you Americans would stay out of our family business.
And they should. We'd have no business lording our gifts with.
But I asked him, I said, do you know what he means by that? He was like, yeah. I was like, did the other guys with you? And he was like, no, they were clueless.
And the other guys were just average church people, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, any questions on this, guys?
Verse 7, remember the days of old. Was that also referring to the golden age or the Messianic era?
No, in this particular case, it's not talking about the Messianic era. It's talking, this is where it's present tense, because you had an older generation with them. And he's telling them, hey, you can ask your elders. Remember, the old days that he's talking about are the days in Egypt.
Remember the days of Egypt?
Remember the days of old. Y'all looking at me like I just hit you with a ton of bricks.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, and I didn't even
There's a
touch
lot
it.
in there, and it's,
Barely.
I feel somebody,
Yep. There's a lot to this. This is the reason he told them, learn it. Learn it.
That's hardcore, man. That really is.
And so, think about it. You have a people that don't have scrolls, that don't have Bibles, they have no access. The only way they know how to learn something is it to be taught to them. So, he created a song.
Yeah, ear to
Gave them a
mouth.
melody.
Or mouth to ear.
Yes.
Mouth to ear.
And that's why it starts here. Ear.
Yeah.
Hear and do. Hear and obey. Yeah.
Loosely said.
Loosely, yes. But you get the idea. Now, when I was studying this, I kept thinking about, because this actually talks about the destruction of the nation that rises up against Israel in the end days. It specifically talks about the end days.
And
Yes.
well, I'm going to say end days is the last 2 days of the week,
Yes.
meaning the 2,000
Yes.
year, 2 days of 1,000 years,
Yeah.
and that's where we're at now.
Yeah. Hope you got something out of this, guys.
Yes.
Sir, thank you for your time.
So you can ask Beth, I was all over the house today. I was outside reading, and I'd be in my office, and then I'd be in the bedroom, and then I'd be in the living room, and then I'd be back outside, and I'd be back in my office. Pray for Baruch Hashem, Lord, let me do what I needed to do. Lord, Beth, let me do what I needed to do to prepare this word. For us.
You knocked the whole room. There's Scottie. You really did.
I did not know how this was going to go. I'm sorry. This one? The JPS.
So
Okay.
what was that mix
This
of
is an
rain?
Yahweh.
Yahweh and Jehovah, how did that? You know what I mean?
Okay, so Jehovah actually comes from our Hebrew dictionaries.
Or what?
Our Hebrew dictionaries. Jehovah, or Yahweh, excuse me, Yahweh. But the what's his name?
Nehemiah.
Guinness,
What?
the German who basically brought the Hebrew language back to life.
Oh, Herschel?
No, Herschel didn't bring it back. Herschel brought philosophy.
In the right at the turn of the century, right?
Guinness, it's the dictionary, Guinness, the German dictionary.
Oh.
The German theologian he was the one that created the Hebrew dictionary. And he actually was saying, in his earliest dictionaries, he was saying that Yahweh is the name of one of the Canaanite gods, and that it was applied he accidentally applied it to the name Yehovah.
He himself.
And
He
it's
himself
stuck.
accidentally applied it. And because he put it down, everybody ran with it. But he acknowledges it was his mistake.
Hardcore.
Now he has to go and tell Paul Wilbur on that.
Yeah, so everybody's sitting there talking about Yahweh, 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 and don't even realize that they're talking about a Canaanite god.
Well-
Also, the day of the Lord. You know where that comes from? The worship of Saturn. Saturn was called Lord.
I don't know.
Saturn was called...
Or Baal.
Oh, Saturn.
I understand.
Saturn preceded Baal. The worship of the sun, moons, and stars. And it ties into this. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, I can see why. That's a whole nother 2 hours, at least, for the intro.
Yeah,
So-
this was a good intro to it.
So should we not use the word Lord?
Now that we know, we shouldn't use the name Yahweh because that's a pagan deity name.
But Lord? About Lord? Is
Well,
that
that's a
Saturn?
substitution. Oh, okay, so Lord, so you know the way we say, oh, Sunday is the Lord's day. That's a pagan idea. It's not God's day. It's not Yahweh.
So that makes sense. I mean, it is the Lord's Day. It's not Yod Kei Vav Kei.
His day. Exactly.
How about Hashem? How do you use it?
It can be argued that Shem is the name of a false god.
Well, it can also be recognized that God recognizes a Jew on the inside while he's practicing externals on the outside, and that is taught via the crypto Jews.
Yeah.
So,
But here's another thing too, is that you can only live by the knowledge that you have. Now, up until this point, you didn't know that Hashem was a false deity's name. Now that you know, like Rabbi always says, now that you know what you know, what you
now
gonna
that you
do
now
with
know
it?
what you now know, what are you gonna do with what you now know now? And, okay, that's kind of, I think that's kind of overstated. Just because we exchange information at this moment, or the last
Yes.
10 minutes, or last hour and a half, doesn't mean I have to accept your information as valid.
No, you don't.
I have to sit there and figure out what is valid based on the way you communicate it and based on the way I heard it.
Yeah.
So, it's not that I actually know something new now. I may be aware of a potential for something.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to wash my hands either, please understand that. But information, the verbal communication, or just the problem with communication, period. You're transmitting, I'm receiving. And we all are transmitting and
and that's
receiving
just
the
it.
different filters.
That's why when you ask me to tell you to do it, all I'm doing is giving you information. Take what you want and study it. Stop waiting on everybody to feed you.
Yes, and then,
You've got to take information and start researching it for yourself.
yeah.
Start cooking. Yes.
So I remember I read that Hashem, and this is by the commentaries of the rabbi, well, not the rabbi, I don't know,
Yeah.
of the Humas. It said that Hashem was pronounced when you see the four-letter name, but when you see it in Torah, outside of the other books, outside after Torah, when you see the four-letter, you use the word Adonai.
No.
Again, that's tradition. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
that's where they're using the vowel pointing for Adonai on Hashem.
Yeah.
Or on the tetragrammaton, which I just heard the new or the actual Hebrew for it. And I cannot remember the language for the four letters. Yeah. So we're by using the word tetragrammaton,
Which is a Greek word.
It's a Greek word. It's the wrong word. It's the wrong It's the wrong way to say it.
Yeah.
And I've been using that for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I now know that there's another word for it that I can't remember for the life of me.
We are heavily influenced.
We're Greek. We're Hellenized.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean,
Let's see what you want to try to say.
it's gonna take.
Let him think. Let him think. He wants to say something. Come on, Scotty.
I
Say
know
it. Say it.
I know what he's gonna say.
I got a feeling.
You have no clue.
Say it, Scotty.
I promise you.
He's gonna say
give
that
it to us anyway.
He's gonna say that it's up to your
Come on, Scotty.
to the student pace
Don't hold back.
to remove that from again.
Yeah, I mean, your learning, that's up to you.
As you
Your
learn.
rejection of knowledge, that's up to you.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't, look,
Every day.
Yeshua said, they asked him, why are you here? And he said, to be a witness to truth. That's what he said. He didn't say, I come to die for the sins of the world. He said, I come to be a witness to the truth. Think about that for a little bit.
Okay, so I run into one of the Psalms. It says, He sits on the throne in the divine council. And I understand. Remember when you gave the study about Israel moving out of Egypt, and then they went around through each nation and destroy the battle against the gods of that nation, right? And it mentions several. And so I read that like all these gods were part of that council once they were defeated or whatever.
Which gods?
From all these places that they mentioned.
So all these other gods are basically lower gods sitting there
well,
submissive to the four-letter
well,
name.
it's like El was the highest.
Scotty's got something to say.
And that's how, let me tell you, and that's how I run into the Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's why I said, oh my God, but I don't want to really want to.
Go for it, Scotty.
But anyways, that's what I read. I mean, if it's true or not.
Okay, so according to our text that we just read, God said that there is no other
God.
beside him.
Yes.
So, are there other gods?
Well, I'll say it this way.
Well, he told Moshe, you'll be to them like God.
I'll say it this way. When my children were taken to a Catholic church to be baptized, my response was, go for it. It's null and void anyway from the get-go. Oh, it was vehemently opposed. You have no idea how it was not well received that way, you know. But I knew enough then, and I didn't even know this at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you looking at me? What do you think?
No,
Are you trying to read his eyes or something?
I don't know.
Do we need this fan on? It's really hurting the sound.
Yeah.
Do we need it?
No.
I'm
Ruth, you have any questions? You sure?
positive.
Are you okay?
Mhm.
Does this challenge you?
Yes, I'm gonna have to reread this chapter at my own time and dissect it.
Yeah.
And see, this is where you gotta learn. This is what I taught my children this week. This is where you gotta learn your study. How you study. How you understand. How you process.
Right.
Okay? There are animals that have two stomachs. They will chew the cud and they'll swallow it. They'll go into the first stomach.
Rumination.
Then, over time, they'll regurgitate it, bring it back up, chew it, swallow it a second time, and only then does it give it nutrients. Goes into the second stomach digests it. What I just gave you was for you to chew on and go into your first stomach.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay? Now you gotta regurgitate some of that stuff.
Rumination.
Yes.
Rumination, not regurgitate.
Oh, okay.
It's rumination.
Nation.
So,
Thank you.
having said what you said, may I continue?
Yes.
The cow has 4 stomachs. We study the cow in order for us to understand how to digest the Torah. I think we brought up the fig tree a couple of days ago. How does the fig produce its fruit? A little at a time. Same thing with the ruminating animals. All the kosher animals are ruminating animals.
Chew the cud.
They chew the cud. So again, this is not anything that goes down quick. It can't. It's impossible. It's too much. You know, I used my example a couple of weeks ago about, you know, it took me 3 years to read the entire Torah in Hebrew. All I did was increase my vocabulary in Hebrew. I did not get the doctrines from learning the words. You know, I did it. There's no way.
And
So-
then at the end of the day, and so that's what I was doing. I would read something, walk away from it,
Yeah.
think about it.
Didn't
pray
you
on
say
it,
that to me today?
Walk around, think about
You
it.
said that today, didn't you?
That's exact. You're processing. I used to lay across the bed, and my wife would walk in. What are you doing? I'm studying.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're sleeping. No,
You're s-
I may be asleep, but I'm processing
Yep.
information.
Yep. Yep. That's why when you wake up in the morning, you actually come up with the right idea after you go to bed with a problem.
That's when information is stored in the brain.
Also, people talk about how they get ideas when they're in the shower. It is scientifically proven that running water right here loosens up your brain. It relaxes your brain, and as your brain relaxes, boom, answers come. That's why you get a lot of answers in the shower, because it relaxes you.
And that says a lot about rain.
Yeah.
So is in breathing techniques.
I'm sorry?
So is in breathing techniques.
Yeah.
It opens the back.
Yeah, all of that. That's why I say you got to find your method. I know a guy, he wrote a book, it was 88 pages. 88 pages. One of the most profound books I've ever read.
Which book?
It's by Derek Lehman. One of the most profound books I've ever read. I asked him, I said, how long did it take you to write this book? He told me it took me 4 years to research it. It took me another 1.5 years to write it. 88 pages. And every page is just chock full of information.
Kind of like Shalom Arush.
4 years for 88 pages. Are you willing to spend the next 4 years and another year of writing just to understand and be able to teach 88 pages worth of information?
The more of this you learn, the more you realize that's how much dissecting we will be doing.
I actually had no idea how this was going to go.
It went well, I think.
Baruch Hashem. Guys, you've got to develop your learning and your study.
Yes, but you know when we learn something and then we're here and then, like the names, we learn Yahweh and then that's not right.
But see, that, again, that's what it's all about. If you get, and see this, when you get set that this is all I'm going to believe, this is what I believe and I'm not going to change, guess what? You just stop growing.
Yes, big time. You just start going backwards.
You're dying.
You're dying. Yeah.
I told my students, I said, you stop learning, you start dying.
This is true.
They looked at me like I was crazy. And 30 years from now, they'll understand what I said.
Yep, that's true too.
It's true because creation never stops, therefore, we always have to be doing something, we have to be doing our thoughts and.
And here's the thing is we got to stop beating ourselves up over what we do and don't understand. God will give to you as you study, little by little,
Precept by precept,
Precept.
line upon line.
measure upon measure. Yep.
Pretty
It's
much.
just, the thing is,
Letter by letter. I have to throw that in,
The letter
guys,
by
for
letter.
the Hebrew students. Oh, you
What-
guys
what did,
working on your Hebrew?
what is the Japanese saying? A journey of 1,000 miles starts
Begins
with
with
the
one
first
step. Yeah. How to eat an elephant? One bite at a
at a
time.
time. All these analogies are analogies to your learning.
And they're legit, and every culture has them.
Yeah. All of them are legitimate. Okay? Stick a fork in it, I'm done, people.
Baruch Hashem. Shall I shut off the video?
You shall.
I will shut off the video at this point.